Hey guys, so Jen Shah's guilty transcript was just released to the public. But before we get into it, please like and subscribe to the channel for more reality TV and celebrity news. When Jen Shah pleaded guilty over fraud charges that she was being accused of, it came as a shock to everyone. Since her time on Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, Jen Shah has maintained her innocence and even cried several times on TV, saying that she didn't do anything she's being accused of. Now her transcripts have been revealed to show exactly how Jen Shah managed to involve her family and her friends in her scam. Now here's what the transcripts say. During court, when the judge asked Jen Shah, "Why don't you tell me now what you did?" So the defendant, who's Jen Shah, responded and said, "From 2012 to March 2021 in the Southern District of New York and elsewhere, I agreed with others to commit wire fraud. I did this by knowingly providing customer names to people who are marketing business services that had little or no value. However, I knew the purchasers of these services were misled about the value, and that's why they bought the services. We used interstate telephones and emails to market and sell these services. Furthermore, while doing this, I knew this was wrong. I know many people were harmed, and I am so sorry," said Jen. So the judge asked her to explain further what she meant by the services she was selling to people. So Jen said, "The misinterpretation of the products is why they purchased the service." Then the judge asked what were the misinterpretations, to which Jen replied, said, "Regarding the value of the product or service." Jen explained the products and services had little or no value, and then the judge asked, in other words, the representations were that it had value or it was misinterpretation because it had little or no value, to which Jen said, yes, that's correct, meaning she lied to people that the services they were buying were high value when in reality they were really worth nothing. The transcript also said the government will further show that between 2017 and 2021, in addition to acting as a lead broker, the defendant owned and operated a Manhattan-based sales floor called Mastery Pro Group. So the judge asked her, Mastery Pro Group. Then that's when Ms. Fletcher responded and said, "Yes, Your Honor." In that role, the defendant oversaw the sales floor herself, handled victim complaints and chargebacks, and supervised salespeople who directly lied to victims of the scheme. She was aware that the government will show through witness testimony, electronic communication, screenshots on her phone, and other evidence that the salespeople that worked for her lied to victims and that their ability to make money in their home-based businesses, the value of the products that her business was selling to those victims, and other misrepresentations. So what they were saying is that Jen Shah knew exactly what she was doing when she was conning her victims. Since they said the defendant oversaw the sales floor herself, meaning Jen Shah was personally present as her salespeople lied to these victims and sold them these things that had no value. Ms. Fletcher continued to say she did this and the government will show this through evidence reflecting that the defendant did not put her name on bank accounts associated with the business, and instead the bank accounts were in the names of her conspirators or relatives. So Jen was smart. She made sure that there was no way they could tie this back to her. But when the government came up with the evidence, I think that's why she pleaded guilty. It continued, the financial records will further show that the defendant only received payments from Mastery Pro Group in cash so that it couldn't be traced, I guess, through the use of a company credit card and through payments made by the company for a New York City apartment that she lived in and or other goods. The evidence will show, and this will come in through cooperator testimony and electronic communications taken from electronic devices. The evidence would further show that the defendant used encrypted applications to communicate with conspirators, that she and her conspirators took steps to move the operation of certain aspects of the scheme offshore to Kosovo, and that she and the conspirators incorporated several businesses in Wyoming to conceal the ownership of these businesses. And I think this is why she was also being charged with money laundering, because they wanted to move the business to another country. Continued and said, finally, the government expects that the evidence at trial will show, and this will occur through testimony from a conspirator and other records, that the defendant directed a conspirator to lie under oath in a deposition taken by the Federal Trade Commission in an effort to conceal her role in the scheme, and that she provided the conspirator with written talking points that he should follow during his deposition. Now, I'm not sure who exactly this conspirator is, but as we all know from Salt Lake City, Jen Shah's first assistant is most probably who they're talking about, since Jen's assistant was the informant that went to the FBI and changed his plea from innocent to guilty first before Jen did the same. So the transcript shows that Jen knew all along, even while she was telling everybody that she's innocent, she knew what she did was wrong. And I guess the government came at her and told her, we have all the evidence on you, so it will be a good idea just to plead guilty in order to get a shorter sentence. Jen Shah is currently facing up to 11 to 14 years in prison for her crime.